They consulted that law firm before getting the windows installed. They got it installed, and now the same lawyers are saying that they should cover them up, and that I guess maybe they think it's a mistake actually. But they were already consulted beforehand, according to this. So it's probably that there was a legal challenge to this, because there should be. Like, the idea that you would put a window that anybody could see in from the hallway in a middle school children's bathroom is absurd. Like, it's unheard. It's the creepiest thing you could possibly think of. Like, it's a pervert's dream, which is maybe why a lot of the conservatives supported it. There's gonna be a legal challenge to that, because if you're sending your kid to a school and that school board has been putting windows that let you see into bathrooms in your kid's middle school, you're gonna want a legal challenge to that to get them to f off. Holy. So I know we've talked a lot on this program about how conservatives, generally speaking, are kind of a threat to your children in a variety of ways. Like, it's super simple that they are, but there's a lot of different complex branching paths in the way that they are. On the one hand, they want to rewrite history and alter the history books that your children learn from in school to kind of water down the absolute atrocities that occurred around the founding of the United States of America, i.e. the removal by force of the indigenous population of North America, as well as the theft of Africans from Africa, human beings, bringing them over to the continental United States and treating them like capital, like property, and not like the full human beings that they are and were, and then exploiting their labor in the most intense and like the logical extension of the exploitation of labor, slavery, chattel slavery, to build this country. They want to, you know, water down the treasonous, evil acts of the Confederacy that wanted to secede from this country in order to keep their slaves, because their entire economy was based off of slavery and it was getting abolished. All this kind of thing. Like, they want to make sure that all of the evils of society that their fathers and forefathers have been complicit in, and, you know, the sins of the father, you're not, as a human being, just because, you know, you might be white or whatever, you're not guilty of those sins. But if you vote for the political party that is trying to do all this rewriting of history, that is trying to exploit labor in the modern day, to the furthest extent being super corporate, against unions, against regulations, against, you know, workers' rights and labor rights and all this kind of stuff, then you kind of are repeating the sins of the father in a way, in a more watered down version, a less obviously evil version, but still a pretty evil one. The way you deal with that not being that is, you know, by being a better person and learning from those mistakes and trying to right the errors in the modern day to help as many people as possible. I digress. So conservatives are a danger to your children. Now, we've been knowing this. This is not new information. And we've been knowing that they're weird as hell about kids in school, specifically. You know, when it comes to trans people using whatever bathroom is more comfortable to them, or when it comes to specifically trans girls playing in girls' sports, especially at an age where, like, any of the so-called biological advantages that boys might have over girls doesn't actually exist, you know, pre-pubertal. They'll still be really fucking weird about it. There's a whole bunch of different ways that ends up leading to them being really creepy about your children. And it seems like Pennsylvania, the absolute shithole of the tri-state area, you thought it was New Jersey. PA has been trying its best to claim that title from New Jersey. Pennsylvania School Board recently cut a goddamn hole into specifically the gender-neutral bathrooms in this school in order to be able to, quote, monitor for misbehavior. Now, mind you, these are the gender-neutral bathrooms. The bathrooms specifically for boys and girls do not have the peeping Tom window, the creepo window, the PDF window. That's not available for those. This is specifically for the gender-neutral bathrooms. That doesn't make it any better or worse necessarily. It's overall bad and shouldn't have happened. But now they've recently had to go back on that at the advice of lawyers. So we got an AP News article here, you know, the communist AP News. I looked at a Fox News article about it, and they essentially just copy-pasted this article, so there you go. Pennsylvania school boards up window openings that allowed views into its gender-neutral bathrooms. A Pennsylvania school district has reversed course and boarded up window openings it recently installed that allowed people in a middle school hallway to peer into two gender-neutral designated bathrooms, the superintendent said Friday. This was posted October 4th. The 2 windows were installed in recent weeks following a vote in August of the Southwestern School District's conservative majority school board, a move the board president said was designed to monitor and prevent misbehavior. Such openings weren't installed in any of the school's non-gender neutral bathrooms. So like you'll notice that in this image, this is the gender inclusive bathroom. There are still stalls in there, right? Like there's still a modicum of privacy in the fact that there are stalls that are hiding the toilets, but like that doesn't make it any better. Like you put a window that anybody can look into on the outside of a middle school children's bathroom. And it's interesting that they only single out the gender neutral bathroom. Now, if I was to try to put my mind in the mind of a conservative, once again, I would never actually try to do this because the sheer gray matter that my brain possesses would completely overtake theirs and would cause their immediate death. So I can't be actually doing it because it's a threat to their lives and I'm not trying to hurt anybody. They wouldn't be used to that level of neuron activity. But like if I was to try to put my brain, inside the mind of a conservative, on paper, in terms of their public reasoning for doing this is, oh, it's a gender neutral bathroom, meaning anybody, any kid of any gender could use it. So that means that then boys and girls can use the same bathroom. So they could be a boy and a girl in the bathroom and they might be using the stalls and whatnot. And we would just want to make sure that there's no problems going on. And they would usually assume that it would be the boys causing problems for the girls, right? And outside of like pranking and whatnot, that's like still not good, but like, you come to expect it when it comes to middle schools, how like, boys will play pranks on girls and vice versa and all this kind of stuff. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. These people, these conservatives are usually worried about something more salacious than that in the ways that they tend to enjoy, the conservatives do, sexualizing children in that way. They're probably more so worried about that, if I had to guess. But like, this is not the way you go about it. I could tell you that much. Like, I don't know how this would work in a middle school. I'm not suggesting they do it in a middle school bathroom, but if you've ever been in like an airport or like in a convention hall, like even if they have segregated bathrooms, men, women, whatever, like sometimes they'll have it like where all the sinks are is like open. Like you can look into that and see people at the sinks and whatnot. But all of the bathrooms are behind a door with a lock. It's not like stalls where you can see above and below them and whatever. It's like literal rooms that have a door on them. You close the door and then, you do your business, you leave it. And then in that way, like because all the sinks are there where nobody's indecent, it being open and being able to see in easily is not a big issue because everybody who's going to be indecent is going to be in the stalls that are literal rooms, like with a door. You can't see inside it when they're occupied. When it comes to this specifically, these are stalls that for a variety of reasons, they're designed in such a way that you are able to see over and underneath it. And, you could look into why that is. A lot of people that come to the US from other countries are kind of shocked when they realize that this is how a lot of bathroom stalls look, where there's like an inch of clearance on either side of the door and underneath it and whatnot. A lot of that in terms of like public bathrooms is like anti-homelessness stuff to make sure that there aren't, homeless people doing drugs or whatever in there, stuff like that. There are ways to like deal with that though that don't involve like reducing the privacy for literally everybody. I know I don't really like using stalls that have a lot of clearance below and even on the sides of the door because it's just a breach of privacy. Like if I'm taking a shit, like I don't want people to be able to like peek at me like vaguely, even if they're not trying to, like in passing. Like that's weird. I don't understand it. But like those are usually going to be the justifications for why those are designed in that way. I don't know why they need to be designed in that way in a school. Be honest with you, I don't get that. Like I could understand like if you're worried about like bullying or whatever that might happen in the bathroom stall or something like that, or if you are like genuinely worried about the students getting up to no good in the bathroom stall for whatever reason they might be doing drugs or engaging in any kind of intimate shit. Like I could see where the idea would be like, oh well, you don't want it to be the case, but should you need to be able to see like if the kids are smoking or whatever in there, like they being able to see that is relevant. But like, you could just have like the upper part be open. You don't need the sides or the underneath of it to be. The other justification being for somebody who's cleaned bathrooms before in food service establishments, it does make cleaning the floors easier to have the openings between the stalls and whatnot because you just throw the fucking mop in there, but that's whatever. You could deal with that. Like if it's literally a cubicle with a door and like the only entrance is the door, you can clean that shit. Anyway, so like to try to give them some modicum of undue respect for a variety of why these things are the way they are, there's some of the justifications they may use and whatnot. Anyway, I kind of rambled. Let's continue. But yeah, the school district's conservative majority school board. And it is obviously notable that it only targets the gender neutral bathroom. So that, like, those are the more, if we try to give some undue respect to them, those are some of the justifications, and then obviously all the other shit I rambled about. But when it comes to the gender neutral ones being targeted specifically, there's another angle of attack there for them, in that they probably oppose the idea of gender neutral bathrooms to begin with, even if they're like single stalls. Like, you know how there's some, like the family stall you might see in public bathrooms that are literally, it's just one toilet in there and a sink, and then they usually have like a baby changing station, and it's also really accessible for people in wheelchairs and whatnot like that. There's like a single bathroom there where like only one person, or I guess in this case, you know, a person and their child and whatnot, would go in there and use that. And that's for the specific purpose of being able to like tend to your child's needs or whatever, like if you got to change a diaper, blah, blah, blah. Like those kind of single occupant bathrooms with like a door and a lock that are gender neutral that you'll find in many places, they even oppose those because they don't like the idea of gender neutrality. Like they don't like the concept of any kind of deviation from a binary idea of gender, of man, woman. Man has to be this way, woman has to be this way. To be gender neutral, to be in any part of that bimodal distribution of how one, biological sex presents itself in the human species, but also the sociological concept of gender identity, which humans have invented, and is in that way way more amorphous than the already somewhat amorphous bimodal distribution of presentation of sex in the human animal. They so strongly oppose that because it gets in the way of them forcing certain ways of life and gender roles on usually specifically women, because they want to control women and girls as much as possible, because, you know, it is a man's world out there, even though, you know, some of the superheroes in your favorite movies are women now on occasion, and like some of the video games have black people in it and black women, frankly, and, you know, you might feel like you're under attack, but like it is still a man's world overall in terms of the power structures and the way the systems have been laid out. Like, we're not having a lot of fights in the political sphere over men's rights in any capacity. However, we are having a lot of fights over, you know, women and anybody but the capacity for pregnancy's right to their own bodily autonomy when it comes to their own reproductive choices. Like, that's still a major political thing we're worrying about in 2024, current year. Like, it's still very much a man's world. And a lot of this is just trying to control women and girls, you know, I guess so they don't get too uppity and try to, like, fight for equality. And not be, you know, oppressed and subject to the whims of men. Anyway, so they just don't like any kind of representation of gender neutrality in any capacity because they see it as an attack against the systems that they benefit from, which is a gender binary that they try to enforce on people that is literally counterfactual to how gender presents itself in our societies. Anyway, that's the other angle of it. So this in that way would be an effort to make anybody using the gender neutral bathroom, should they like literally be gender neutral, like non-binary or agender or whatever, should they be like, you know, a trans girl, trans boy, whatever, they might feel more comfortable using a gender inclusive bathroom than going into the boys room or the girls room. Like, you can imagine, like, if there's a very feminine, I guess, boy out there, they might not feel too comfortable going into the boys room because they'll probably get bullied, picked on, so they might want to go to the gender inclusive one. Or like if it's a trans girl that's unfortunately seen as a boy by a lot of the students and even the faculty, they might feel more comfortable and safe going to the gender inclusive or gender neutral bathroom rather than the gender segregated one. This is an effort, the window here is an effort to make that process as uncomfortable as possible so that you don't, as a gender neutral person or whatever, get to feel like you belong in any space, even in a space that is super private like a bathroom. It's a way to make public life as uncomfortable as possible for anybody that goes outside of the very strict gender binary that they try to enforce on you, so that you essentially get pushed into the fringes of society. And their hope is that you decide to just go back into the closet and suppress all of these feelings of the ways that you actually feel being gender neutral or trans or whatever, so that you just don't exist in society as a trans person. And therefore, that's at the very least a job well done for them, for the conservatives who just don't want anybody outside of their rigid gender expectations to exist. So that's what the window is also operating in service of, even if they don't necessarily understand that to be the case. Like, you could be a dumb fuck and be like, oh yeah, it's just to make sure that if there's a boy and a girl in there, that the boy doesn't mess with the girl in any way, so that we can see what's going on in there. And they might support it for that reason, but it also has the, in that way, collateral effect of making anybody who doesn't fall within the gender binary that they want to enforce feel like they don't belong and whatnot, or whatever. You know what I mean? Anyway. The openings were covered by Plywood on Thursday on the advice of lawyers from the Harrisburg-based Independence Law Center, a conservative legal group the board consulted before ordering the windows installed, Superintendent Jay Burkhart said. So they consulted that law firm before getting the windows installed. They got it installed, and now the same lawyers are saying that they should cover them up, and that I guess maybe they think it's a mistake actually. But they were already consulted beforehand, according to this. So it's probably that there was a legal challenge to this, because there should be. Like, the idea that you would put a window that anybody could see in from the hallway in a middle school children's bathroom is absurd. Like, it's unheard. It's the creepiest thing you could possibly think of. Like, it's a pervert's dream, which is maybe why a lot of the conservatives supported it. There's gonna be a legal challenge to that, because if you're sending your kid to a school and that school board has been putting fucking windows that let you see into bathrooms in your kid's middle school, you're gonna want a legal challenge to that to get them to fuck off. Holy. So, like, that's probably why the lawyers have, changed course and been like, yo, chill, board that shit up. We made a mistake. It'll be the PDF's time and another time, okay? This is not the way. We'll help you be PDFs in the future like we tried to before, but this one, we overextended. We built a forward operating base to try to achieve our goals, but we were not ready for it. We did not have the resources. Pull back. Quote, I believe we have to protect all of our students, Burkhart said in a phone interview. Quote, students are entitled to privacy and I don't want to violate that. But the window was put in there, bro. And you were the superintendent then, no? Or like, were you voted in after the fact? You trying to wash your hands of this, pun intended? The board, quote, has been targeting transgender students and stripping away their rights for a while, said Christina Moon, a lawyer with the Philadelphia-based Education Law Center, which has asked affected students to reach out to it. She said the, quote, multiple tiers and assignments of bathrooms, quote, overcomplicated a non-issue, stigmatizing students. So this is why the conservative law firm that they initially consulted with before the windows were installed is now telling them to fucking cover their ass. Because probably Christina Moon, a lawyer with this Philadelphia-based Education Law Center, is going to challenge their absolute depravity, which they should be challenging. Holy. Quote, now they've cut actual holes for windows into the student bathrooms, but only the bathrooms they expected trans and non-binary children to use. This is a horrifying violation of children's privacy and cruel discrimination targeted against trans and non-binary kids, Moon said in an emailed statement. The mother of an 8th grader at Emory H. Markle Middle School in Hanover said Friday that she considered the decision to cover up the windows, quote, a small victory. Fair. A small victory would be getting rid of all the people on the school board that voted for the decision. That would be the major victory, and then replacing them with people who aren't fucking perverts, but okay. Jennifer Hollahan, who drew attention to the bathroom window openings by posting a photo on social media, said she's, quote, nervous to see what happens at a meeting next week of the conservative majority school board. Quote, this has been a continuing agenda that they've had, Hollahan said in a phone interview. Quote, they've proved this more than once. I think this is the first time that the school board president has been shut down, and I just wonder what's to come from that. Like, there could be a backlash, potentially, for the conservatives who really do want to be able to see into middle school children's bathrooms. The fact that the window got boarded up, they're going to be really upset about that because they can't peep anymore, So there might be a backlash at the next meeting from the conservative majority school board. School board president Matthew A. Gallazella, elected as a libertarian in 2021, told a reporter seeking comment Friday that he considered the call to be criminal harassment and abruptly hung up. Ha! Wait, what? The school board president, Matthew A. Gallazella, elected as a libertarian in 2021, told a reporter seeking comment Friday that he considered the call to be criminal harassment and abruptly hung up. The libertarian, huh? The right-wing libertarian school board president who okayed, it would seem, the installation of a window into a middle school children's bathroom. The right-wing libertarian, huh? Interesting stuff. I wonder what his thoughts are on the age of consent. Huh. I should ask him about that the next time they try to call. God damn, bro. Like, be less of a fucking stereotype. Earlier this week, Gallazella issued a statement defending the bathroom windows, of course he would, fucking pervert, as a safety improvement that, quote, in making the area outside the stalls more viewable. Listen, if you're trying to defend, in your words, making the bathrooms of middle school children more viewable, you've already lost. To the average normal person, you're already beyond the pale. Like, to the average normal person, they might think of you in some type of way that, like, I can't even mention on stream for fear of TOS violation. When it comes to, like, the fact that you want their children that they're sending to the school to be more viewable in the bathrooms. You're insane. Quote, we are better able to monitor for a multitude of prohibited activities, such as any possible vaping, drug use, bullying, or absenteeism. But we're not going to do this for the boy and girls specific segregated bathrooms because anyway, this is criminal harassment. Bye. Yelazella's statement also warned students that they should not consider the bathroom areas outside the toilet stalls to be private. Markle Middle School principal Wes Winters directed questions about the bathroom windows to Yelazella. Oh, so you're gonna direct questions about it to the pervert who okayed it? Okay. The pervert right-wing libertarian. Board member Justin Lightly declined to discuss the matter, while several other board members and the board's lawyer didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. In an email statement, the ACLU of Pennsylvania described the school board's policy as discriminatory and one that makes children less safe. Imagine my shock, putting windows on middle school children's bathrooms? Making them less safe? What? Who could have expected that? The Southwestern School District has about 4,400 students. The York Dispatch reported this week that the board has been looking into LGBTQ+ students in bathrooms for more than a year, acting on concerns from unspecified people to establish 5 bathroom categories: male and female based on sex assigned at birth, male and female based on gender identity, and single-user facilities that are deemed gender neutral. Yelazella said during an August 14 board meeting that the windows were part of bathroom changes meant to bolster privacy, the Dispatch reported. Don't believe the evidence of your eyes and ears, brother. We're putting goddamn windows on your middle school children's bathrooms to give them more privacy, brother. That's why we're doing it. Not because I'm a right-wing libertarian and I want to be able to see in there, but to make it more private. Are you insane? Like, pardon the analogy, but like, that kind of backwards logic wouldn't make it past the English teacher if a student provided it to them on a fucking report, on an essay. Like, let's read this. Yelazella said during an August 14 board meeting that the windows on a middle school children's bathroom were part of bathroom changes meant to bolster privacy. Okay, dude, whatever you say, man. This man should be on a list. I'm sorry, like, straight up. I don't need any other, like, evidence for any other thing he may or may not have done. This alone, like, defending it, especially after the fact, like, you need to be on a list, brother. If not, like, the explicit one, like the Not Like Us single cover, the Next Door app. Sorry, I know that. I don't know it by name. I know it by that album cover nowadays. Fucking, if not, like, exactly that, like, a tier below, maybe. Like, the dude should not be president of the school board. And everybody who voted for this shit should be out as well. The vote was 6-3 in favor of adding the windows. Those 6 people, put them in a box. Ship them across the Atlantic. Let the Brits figure them out. Safely, mind you. A safe box. Ship them out. Though the Evening Sun reported that work had already begun when the vote was taken. So, like, it was a foregone conclusion, apparently. Like, they were like, yeah, we're putting the goddamn windows in your children's bathroom, even if the vote isn't in favor of it, because we know it probably will be. Because we all know each other. We all know what we talk about in our private group chats. God damn. Holohan said the window openings not only allowed people in the hallway to peer into the bathrooms, they also let noises from the bathrooms be heard. That's just grotesque, man. Like, that's just grotesque. It's already embarrassing enough to, like, be dropping one in a public toilet. And the fact that, like, you're heard. Like, we're all humans. It all happens. Like, we're all making, you know, fart sounds and whatnot when we're using the bathroom. But, like, it's already embarrassing enough for a lot of people. The fact that, like, outside the bathroom, motherfuckers can hear it now. Like, goddamn, dude, you're gross. I'm sure that's an unintended consequence. Like, unironically, I'm pretty sure that is. It's still fucked up, though. Burkhart, the superintendent, said the 2 gender-neutral bathrooms have not been a particular problem for the type of misbehavior Yelazella cited. Yeah, because it's in his fucking fantasies. It's in his delusional, perverted fantasies that they're a problem. So he wants to be able to keep an eye on them. The renovations cost $8,700, Burkhart said. $8,700 that did not go to buying updated books to teach your kids or buying updated technology to help your children learn and better prepare them to be productive members of society. $8,700 to fulfill the perverted fantasies and wishes of 6 of the 3 people in the conservative majority school board at this school, a middle school. That's where your money's going to. Round of applause, everybody. You've done it. You've ended wokeness, frankly. Excellent work. At least 11 states have adopted laws barring transgender girls and women from using girls and women's bathrooms at public schools, and in some cases, other government facilities. As for Pennsylvania, the Education Law Center wrote in a January analysis that federal appeals courts have ruled students have a right to use bathrooms and locker rooms aligned with their gender identity. Moon, a senior lawyer for the center, said all children have the right to use an easily accessible bathroom convenient to their classes that affords them true privacy and does not discriminate based on sex and gender identity. So, like, obviously the common response to that idea Like the children in the schools and even adults in public should be allowed to use whatever bathroom they're more comfortable with. Their common response will be like, oh, well, then that would allow men to put a wig on and go into a women's bathroom and then predate on the women, or God forbid, the small children, girls. And it's like, brother, they already do that. They're already breaking a literal law, which is harassment / abuse / sexual harassment or abuse, or worse, like by going in there to begin with. Like, they're already breaking a literal law. They're not gonna give a fuck about a non-law rule at whatever establishment they're at that says you can't go in there unless you're a girl or a boy or a man or a woman. Like, if a no men allowed sign on the outside of the bathroom is not gonna stop a motherfucker who's already intent on breaking actual laws and not just rules and customs in our society, you know? Cultural norms. They're gonna do it anyway. They don't need the excuse. They're already doing it. And then you get motherfuckers that are elevated to president of school boards that are putting windows in the shit to make it easier. What are you doing? That's crazy. Put those 6 in the device? True. Real. It's too much, man. It's too much. Like, you've overextended your hand. We all know conservatives at their core are really fucking weird about young children. We already know this. We've been knowing this. This is old news. But, like, you've gone way too far here. Like, the jokes are always, oh, the genital inspections. But, like, we're getting there, bro. Conservatives are trying to put that together. They're trying to find the pieces in some places when it comes to, like, school-age sports. I remember there was some stories about there being, like, literal genital inspections for people going on the girls' sport team. Like, you're crazy. You've lost the plot. Get help. What the hell are you doing? Was it Ohio? JD Vance's home state? Wouldn't shock me. JD Vance got some interesting takes on women and girls as well, to say the least. And some that track menstrual cycles, yes, to know if they had an abortion or not. That's crazy. God damn. At a certain point, like, you can only be so polite about these fucking monsters. Like, these people should not still be on the school board. They should be removed from that position, and they should not be allowed to hold any position of power over the lives of the students, of the young children, anywhere. Like, how are they still in those positions? The 6 people that voted for it and the fucking right-wing libertarian president of the school board that has defended the windows in your children's bathroom. What the fuck? That's crazy. It's too much. Not good. And this is the side of the fence that's like, oh, all these queer people, they're after your kids. Okay, dude. Meanwhile, the majority of schools that still allow for corporal punishment, i.e. fucking teachers spanking your kids if they act up, are majority red states. Come on now. The evidence is available in reality for us. We don't need to listen to your twisted, perverted delusions about them, right-wingers. Like, we don't need to do that. We know how fucked up you are. The fact that you're able to get away with any of this shit is an indictment on the opposition. Why is there a diagonal plank? Well, they're boarding it up now because there's gonna probably be a legal challenge against the institution of these windows to begin with. So now the lawyers that okayed the decision to begin with after consultation, it would seem, I'm assuming, have now been like, wait, no, board that shit up because, like, there's other law centers and the ACLU saying that this shit is fucked up. Like, we thought, as their conservative law group, they thought it was completely okay. Turns out, nope. Well, I'm sure the one plank is not the totality of what they're doing to board it up. That's great. Anyway, it's just too much, man. It's too much.